Good morning. Good morning to you, Garden family. It's just a delight to be able to talk with you this morning and share my story, which is really God's story. I'm going to share with you today how in the world a woman like me who worked with women's ministries wound up working with prisoners. When you came in today, you should have received an envelope that has a Christmas card in it from Love Works Ministries, and that's the ministry that I lead. And why I'm doing this ministry, I'm going to share with you right now. And I want you to watch because you will see as I tell this story, it had nothing to do with me and everything to do with him as he made it possible for me to do what I'm doing today. And it makes me think of Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." And notice the plans are not our plans. They're his plans. And his plans, I don't know if you've had this experience, they don't look like our plans a lot of times. A lot of times. Well, I tell you, back in 1987, I was driving down Sepulveda Boulevard in the San Fernando Valley, and there was a stoplight at Rayen. And that's right in the North Hills area. And in that area, there's a lot of crime, a lot of gangs, a lot of darkness. And as I stopped at that light, I just had a complete download from God. I'd never had that experience before. I've never had it since. And it was a download of love for this community that was in such darkness. And in that download, what happened was I received that love into myself for that group in that area, especially the kids. And I didn't know what to do with it. What am I supposed to do with this? I was working with women's ministries. Didn't make sense. 2 months later, I get a call from Sepulveda Middle School. I had applied for a job as a special ed assistant. I could have been placed any place, anywhere. But Sepulveda Middle School called me. It was less than a mile from where I had had this experience. And then I was working for the next many years with kids that lived right there in that community. And I loved the job, but hey, I knew it wasn't it. This wasn't it. I didn't know what was. So time passes, and a Christian woman comes and is a teacher in the classroom with me. We have a great time with the kids. And she decides to start a Christian club. Guess where? At Rayen in Sepulveda. She starts this Christian club. And, we don't know what we're doing. We're like the Lucy Ethel act, from I Love Lucy. We don't know what to do with these 12 kids, but we're doing it, and we're loving it, and it's great. We stay with them until they graduate from high school. Now what are we supposed to do? We don't know. Is the Lucy Ethel show over? We don't know. Well, Melody, who is Lucy, writes a grant, gets the grant. She'd never written one before. But we have to work with kids that are incarcerated. We don't have any of those. So she quickly puts together an anger management program, goes to the camps, talks to them, and they let us in. It's amazing. So now for the next several years, we're working at the camp doing an anger management class, which is a secular program. But in the time with the one-on-ones, we're sharing the gospel. We're praying for those kids. We're just loving on those kids. And so she, being who she is, she decides to move on because she's got other fish to fry. She's got a lot of plans. And they're not at this prison camp that we're working at. I can't leave because of that love that happened to me at Rayen and Sepulveda. I just can't leave these kids. So I stay now, I take over the program. I went from passing out pencils to taking over the program, right? Okay, and it was scary because these kids are not the best behaved kids in the world. Then I hear about the unfits. Oh my gosh, that just broke my heart. Unfit kids are those between the ages of 14 and 17 whose crimes are so big that they are not going to be tried as juveniles, they are going to be tried as adults. These kids, 95% of them will spend decades in prison or life in prison. And my heart just broke for this. These kids are 14 to 17. You know, you guys out there remember what you were like when you were 14 and 17, you know? Anyway, real impulsive, don't think about consequences, all of those kinds of things. And so I started to just absolutely have to work with these kids. They were at Sylmar, at the juvenile hall in Sylmar, and so I put everything together. I applied, and unbeknownst to me, a new superintendent was there. That new superintendent, Sean Porter, he knew us because we'd worked at a camp he was over. He loved us. He said, go in there, do anything you want at the compound, do anything you want. We did. We went in there and we started teaching that anger management class, and these kids really needed God, believe me. They were such broken children. And so we prayed with them, we loved on them, we shared the gospel with them. And then when they turned 18, guess what? They went to county jail. And then they went to prison, 95% of them. And so I followed the ones that wanted me to prison. And so there I am. That's how I got there. And I'm there to this day because I have the same love that happened to me when I was at Rayen and Sepulveda 37 years ago. It has never, ever gone away. And I love these guys. They're now, many of them have been in prison. The ones I work with have been in prison 30, 40 years. For a long, long time. And they love God so much, and they trust God so much. It's breathtaking to see. I am so glad I followed what the Jeremiah 29:11 said about God's plans. I'm so glad I followed it because it has really fulfilled my life. And I pray for you guys that you discover the plan he has for you, and he's going to work it out, so don't try and work it out for yourself. He's going to work it out. Thank you. Thank you.